This pale brick ranch-style home in the upper valley of El Paso, Texas, sits on a half-acre surrounded by mature trees. In 2003, the owners hired a professional landscaping company to install planters all around the home, as well as all around the edge of the property. They installed a big flagstone patio and walkway to the street. Those natural stone planters topped with flagstone slats were filled with trees and shrubs and looked really beautiful for many years. Over those nearly 20 years, however, some of the plants grew quite large, while some of the plants, as is very typical over a long period of time, died out. Further, Bermuda grass had seeped up through the lining below the rocks and became so thick in some places that you could no longer see a clear delineation from lawn to planters. In addition, many of the main drip lines of the sprinkler system had burst, causing some areas to flood while starving some of the plants of water. Along the side of the house, the weeds and poorly pruned plants made an otherwise handsome home look unkept, uninviting, and probably reduced the value of the property. If you ever want to sell a home for top dollar, always remember that the yard is the very first impression your home will make. Bottom line, a beautiful home deserves a beautiful yard, so it was time to call a professional landscaping company. The owners selected BC Pro Contractors and Landscape. The first decision that BC Pro had to make was what to keep and what to remove. Almost every plant in the planters would have to be ripped out, but the natural stones are very expensive and hard to replace, while the huge shade trees are priceless. Coming up, the tractor comes out for a little yard demolition surgery to clean everything up. Don't bump the trees. Stay tuned. BC Pro Contractors and Landscape has a big challenge: rejuvenate the extensive planter areas of this ranch-style home while not harming the beautiful trees nor touching the natural stone dividers and flagstone walkways. Since some of the shrubs are nearly 20 years old, some of the roots are pretty deep. Many shrubs will only live about 15 to 25 years, so replacing them is a predictable part of keeping a home looking nice. BC Pro uses a tractor to cut away nearly 200 feet of old shrubs, worn-out gravel, Bermuda grass, and weeds all along the curb of the property. It is very important not to scrape the trees because they're still healthy and worth keeping. Also, a professional will know how to navigate a bobcat around the delicate features, such as the expensive stone dividers topped with flagstone. Did you know that the tubing in most drip line systems may only last 15 to 20 years before weakening and bursting? BC Pro has to remove quite a few feet of old sprinkler tubing to make room for a fresh new system. The biggest challenge of this project is the planter closest to the house. Since there's simply no way to get a tractor that close without damaging the lawn and rockwork, the planter had to be cleared the old-fashioned way, one shovel load at a time. Once the areas are cleared of the old shrubs, rocks, lining, and sprinkler lines, it's time to replace the drip system with a brand new piping. BC Pro specializes in custom sprinkler systems, and that can be challenging on an older home with old sprinkler lines crisscrossing the yard in every direction. Coming up, the owners requested a matching flagstone walkway on the side of the house to match the walkway in front. You won't believe how fantastic the rejuvenated yard looks. Stay tuned. One of the big challenges of renovating any yard is having a plan. The owners loved the look of the big flagstone walkway in the front of the house and asked BC Pro to create a mini flagstone walkway from the side gate to the street, winding between the purple plum trees. Using matching bricks for a trim, BC Pro carefully filled the bricks with pieces of flagstone to match the stone of the front walkway. Even small landscape features like a walkway add to the richness of a garden and add tremendously to the value of a home. BC Pro Contractors and Landscape carefully removed all the old shrubs, rocks, lining, and sprinkler lines without touching the trees or stone dividers. Now it's time to sketch out where the plants will be placed so they know exactly where to run the drip irrigation system. Each plant will get 2 drip lines, just in case one becomes clogged over time. They wouldn't want a plant to get thirsty. Once the drip lines are laid down and the extensions placed, it's time to plant. Near the street, a mixture of hardy evergreens, such as hawthorns, with occasional blends of color, such as the very popular lantana. Near the house, the owners wanted an explosion of color, including the increasingly popular pink double punch roses. Next to the bay window, a row of boxwoods that can eventually be cut into a perfect hedge at the base of the window. Once the plants are planted and after a layer of protectant lighting is put down for weed control, it's time to apply the final touch, fresh rocks, to make the brand new planter pop. Look at the amazing difference BC Pro accomplished. The entire home seems new. There was no radical redesign of the planters, simply a careful replacement of the plants to liven up the yard. Most people know that their AC units will only last about 20 years, but a practical homeowner will also budget for fresh landscaping every couple of decades as well. After all, the home is the most important investment most people will ever make.